Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. I know it's very early, but I am not sleepy at all. Um, I just got back from watching a very wonderful movie. If you have not seen Bad Boys, this last Bad Boys movie, please go check it out. They didn't ask me to promote this movie, but it was really good. It reminded me of the very first movie. Um, so definitely check that out. And yeah, just go check it out. But I've been doing some self reflections over the last few days, which is why my video is late. Um, because I had to make a video about my family history, of the parts that I remember and that uh, I was privileged to understand and know. And it got me to thinking about our own everyday lives, and especially for my people of color that watch. It's important to document where your family started. You know, the videos that say, you know, how it started and where we are now or how it ended, things like that. It's important for us to understand those things and document those things, not for our sakes, but for those that come afterwards. And let me go ahead and address this now. I have clips in my hair because I did my hair, and a few strands were little loose, so I'm retightening them. So yes, I do know I have something in my hair. So if you see that, it's just, you know, a clip to hold my hair together, right? But anyway, it is important for us to document these things for those that come after us, because it's important for people to understand um, the caliber of people that share the same DNA, share the same minds. Because one thing that gets lost in family history is the fact that certain things come back up, but nobody knows where they come from. Nobody knows how to handle it. Nobody knows how to deal with these things. And this can be even medical mishaps, right? These can be things such as I know that there's diabetes that can get passed along the bloodstream. And if you hide the fact that you have diabetes and then somebody else in your family gets diabetes and they're like, where did this come from? I eat healthy and I don't understand. These are the types of things that the family should know so that we can, well, we all should eat healthy anyway, but you know, certain people, so we can all keep this in the forefront of our minds of things to watch out for, things to look out for. Yes, we have a family history of X, Y, and Z. Yes, so that means that we have to take extra precautions. That means we have to do an extra mile, you know, to keep these things under control. And I was just using that as an example because health things tend to come up a lot um, with families. But again, the family history is very important. And as I was making the video, I remembered and recognized that I'm only 3 generations away from slavery. I'm only 3 generations away from slavery. And it put it in perspective. And yes, I will go ahead and say that I am the baby cousin on this particular side of my family that I'm talking about. And on the other side, I'm I'm like one of the middle, in the middle somewhere. That side of my family is huge. All the way around is huge. But even on that side, we're only 3 generations away from slavery. And out of those three generations, out of um, Juneteenth, which we'll be celebrating officially 10 days from now. And if you celebrating it on the weekend, a few days, maybe earlier or a few days later. But either way, we're celebrating Juneteenth soon. And that was the freedom of slavery, the separation of slavery in the United States, but then we ran into the Jim Crow era. And then we ran into eras of, segregation, and overcoming things of that nature. And then, of course, starting to have our own institutions, and Black people are just starting to go to college. And so I get excited whenever I see someone has become a doctor. And I will say this, um, that's just a personal opinion, but because these are accomplishments, right? Whenever somebody gets their bachelor's degree, that's an accomplishment. When somebody gets their high school degree, that's an accomplishment because of the history that we have had, where lots of people had to stop going to school at the age of 8. If memory serves me correct, that's third grade. So we had a lot of people, which is why they say that, if we can make materials on a third grade reading level, then everybody should understand it. That's because a lot of Black people had to stop going to school in the third grade, and some even earlier than that. But it's close to third grade what they can understand, i.e., my grandmother, but she did go back to get her GED. And so when we think about these things and we think about where we are now, just in education, my family is full of doctors. My family is full of singers, actors or screenwriters, professional dancers, working in the legal systems, working in the health systems, accountants. I think about these things, and I got really excited, and especially uh, just a few years ago, we did find another cousin, and there's a side of me that a lot of people don't get a chance to see. If you're in my everyday life, you probably will see it, but to a certain extent, I am a political activist. I am an activist for certain things, for well, not just certain things, but for multiple things, right? And to find out that I am related to one of America's nationally known Black figures in America, it inspired me. It lit something up in me, um, because it's just like, I understand. Like, I understand this fight. I understood, the passion. Um, And it's like there's a part of me that says, if he can do it, I know I can do it, because we came from the same stock, that same blood, that same intellect, that same knowledge, that same drive also is in me. It is inspirational to know who you are and where you come from. And if you're wondering who is on my shirt, I have D. Bayard Rustin, who is also a political activist. Look him up. I'm not going to tell you anything about him if you don't know who he is. Look him up. Look up Bayard Rustin and read up about this great political man that we had in America. And then I forgot where I was reading something in a group chat, um, and one of the guys had made a statement about the wisdom and breaking down the word of God, and how my people, and how the scripture that says my people perish for the lack of knowledge. Right. If you think about a lot of the problems that we have in our families, in America, in schools, is because people are not knowledgeable about the things that they should be. And I can even take it from this aspect. So, the acronym of healing in the vein is HIV. And if this is your first time, if you look at my earlier videos, I talk a lot about HIV. Um, but even in that, a lot of people, even those living with HIV, really don't fully comprehend what HIV does to the body. They don't fully comprehend the importance of staying medicated. They just know that I got to take this pill, and and some people have gotten better. The language of it has gotten better, but there's still those who still don't understand, especially if they're newly diagnosed. Excuse me, if they're newly diagnosed and they're not used to taking medications, right? It's important for them to understand why there's an importance of taking your medication early. And when you don't have the knowledge of the why, the how, the when, I mean, you can even say the other words, but the why, the when, and the how, those are the most important things when you're talking about your familiar history. Because when you understand why people did the certain things, how they did them, and when, as in the date era, you understand your importance. You understand the need to, okay, well, my parents didn't do this, but I'm going to pick up that torch and do it again. Well, my great grandparents, they didn't have the privilege to, you know, to work openly. So I'm going to make sure that I have very great work ethics so that I can move up the ladder if that's my goal. If I want to be the president of a multi-billion-dollar industry, I need to work. I need to do the work. I need to gain all the knowledge that I can so that I can carry on the torch that my great grandparents were not so fortunate to do. Right. That those are the prayers of our ancestors who came before us. They wanted a better life for us. I hope my child or my grandchild never has to go through this. And even those that profess, I hope my great 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 grandchildren doesn't have to go through what I had to go through. They prophesied these things, they prayed over these things, they believed over these things. And so when we're not privileged of knowing their stories and what they had to go through, we only see our own self. We only see our lives, our daily day struggles, and people do give up. And then there's some people who they don't give up, but they're so oblivious to everything. It's almost like they're selfishly living, and we can't selfishly live. And yes, you may not have it all together. I need to say this because there's some people that say, "Oh, well, I don't have all my ducks in a row, and I don't got this, and I don't got that." Baby, you can always change the course of your action at any moment in time. You can always change your outcome at any moment in time. Why? Because we have a God that we can pray to that will give us direction if we ask. We live in a place where we can, if even if you don't have anybody around your immediate circle that you can ask a stranger for help. Just say, hey, I want to do better. Can you help me? There are some good people out there. We can't live in a world of fear where we are so fearful to ask for help. And I've seen it so many different times. Uh, People doing handling things by themselves and not being able to fully comprehend their needs and not being able to fully understand the resources given to them. And whenever people don't fully understand who their resources are and or what those resources are, they don't ask the right questions. They don't ask for the correct resources, and therefore they miss out on things. And so it's important to just understand that knowledge is always welcomed in our lives. We just have to seek it. We have to ask questions. we sometimes we even have to ask hard questions, right? Because I know that there's some people who don't like to ask for help, but hey, you have to get over your pride to ask for these things. Because when you get over your pride, you understand that it's not that, like, my pride is on the smaller scale compared to my needs, right? When you compare your needs to your pride, I guarantee it'll always measure up this way. When you're going through so much that you can't carry it on, that's when you should use your mouth, use that tool, that instrument, and ask for the resources that you need, ask for that help that you need, ask for the guidance that you need. Because there's so many people that struggle and they don't have to struggle. They don't have to. And going back to the family history again, there were some of our ancestors who may had to do that same thing. They had to get out of that fear. Because just reminding, I'm only 3 generations away from slavery, right? So I'm sure that there were some questions. How do I do this? How do I gain this skill? Who do I need to talk to? You know, um, especially shout out to anyone who has ever been a first year college student for their family, because let me tell you why that's important. Because those are the trailblazers. That mean they had to go through some things that other students didn't have to go through. They had to learn some things that other students already knew. They had to find their way and fumble their way through some things. And when they did it, they're now able to help others. Because being a trailblazer is never easy. Being a trailblazer can be inspirational. Again, we have to leave some sort of legacy in historic history for those that come after us. So even if you, whatever, I'm gonna say that and say it like this, whatever course of action that you did to change something um, that is not typical for your family, applaud yourself. Meaning, if you are the first person in your family to, I don't know, say move out the hood and buy a house, I don't care how you live in that house. Celebrate yourself because you moved out of assistant living places, places that they say that some people are only able to live in. If you open up your own business and nobody else in your family has opened up a business, applaud yourself because you're the first person in your family to open up that business, no matter how big or small it is, right? Applaud yourself for these things because you broke something that in the past you may not have even had access or resources to do. And it's important to document these things. I remember my grandfather used to have a dollar framed. And I asked him one day, why do you have this dollar framed? And he said, son, that was the first tip that I ever got. And I framed it. I kept it because that meant somebody saw my work ethic. Somebody understood that I went above and beyond. Now he didn't say this. I'm saying it now. That somebody saw that he went above and beyond the work that he was supposed to do, and they tipped him. And he said it served as a reminder to always do well, always put your best foot forward, always try to do things in a way that is respectful. Both of my grandparents, um, and this is my maternal grandparents, um, instilled in us to always do good because our names will go further than we will. And just imagine somebody else knows you across the world and you've never met them because somebody experienced you authentically. and said, man, I know this man, I know this woman, I know this young man, I know this young woman, I know this girl, I know this boy who did this, and this for the community. And that inspired me to bring that same thing over here to my country, or it inspired them in some way. And so then your family's legacies is living on through people that is not related to you. And just imagine your ancestors saying, wow, we even crossing families, the other families that we didn't even know whose lives we were going to touch. I had some mentees that I didn't even know that I had until they told me. They was like, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be where I am today. And that did something to me. And I was like, wow, I was just considering myself a friend, and just doing what I needed to do to push someone else, because I know what it's like to be in those spaces. And they were like, nah, we consider you my mentor. And I was like, oh wow. And so it's like, and that's that thing where they always say, you never know who is watching you. You never know who you can be an inspiration to. You never know that. And you never know how much of an impact that you can do. So again, whenever it comes to your family history, just think about the impact of their stories and how it helped change your life, how it helped change the course of action for you. What about your family history made you change something within? What about your family history that you can teach others in your family so that they may change their course of action? What about your family history can you contribute for that will come after you? I want you to think about these things. So, in closing, because it's a very short, but it's a very deep and thoughtful message that I definitely wanted to share with everyone. I hope you're able to find the history of your family that you need to be inspired and to add to, right? Um, Not all of us have history books about our families, or if we're in history, we don't know them yet. Um, there's a side of my family, my paternal side of the family. We're finding out that indeed we may be in history books. We're having that as a wide discussion, and I thought that was interesting, because I like history. So of course, I'm going to look into these things. But you never know until you research, until you look into it. So, again, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all learned something. Hope you all share this with someone that you feel like should also hear this message. And as I always say on this channel, don't try to be, don't wish to be, don't think about being, just be blessed. And you all have a good night. And thank you for tuning in, all of you. Thank you. Good night.